Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel Atma Occult. Today we will be discussing the astrological transits for the month of November and what they are likely to bring for each ascendant sign. These transits can also apply to you from your moon sign. We are using sidereal Vedic astrology, so if you do not know your sidereal ascendant or moon sign, you're welcome to use our free birth chart calculator at atmaoccult.com.
So before we get started, we have to tell you about our brand new free moon transit guide for 2026 for all moon signs.
Did you say free?
It's free.
Free.
We're calling this the Chandra Gochara Deepika, which means the illumination of the moon's transits. This guide features calendar pages for every month of 2026 with favorable and unfavorable moon transits highlighted in color for your moon sign. It also features a full scholarly presentation of 3 verses from the classical text Brihat Samhita, describing the effects of the moon's transits through all 12 houses from your moon sign. Just follow the link in the description of this video and download your 2026 Chandra Gochara Deepika today. Real quick, if anything goes wrong with this stream, we will post it on our website in written form. Just letting you know that ahead of time, if there's any lagging or anything, so that you can get this information.
Yes, we don't want you to miss out. So with that said, let's get into our forecast for the month of November 2025. Can't believe we're already at November. So first we're going to give you an overview of the month, and then we'll talk about what to expect for each of the zodiac signs. So on November 3rd, Venus will move from the sign of Virgo, where it's debilitated, to the sign of Libra, which is Venus's Multricone sign. On November 10th, Mercury will turn retrograde in the sign of Scorpio and start moving back towards the sign of Libra. On November 13th, retrograde Mercury will cross over Mars in the exact same degree. Also, Jupiter will turn retrograde on November 11th and start heading back towards the sign of Gemini, but Jupiter will still remain in Cancer for the entirety of November.
After that, on November 17th, the sun will move into the sign of Scorpio, joining Mercury and Mars. Retrograde Mercury will cross over the sun in the same degree on the 20th, and then on the 24th of the month, Mercury will re-enter the sign of Libra from Scorpio, where it will cross over Venus in the same degree on the 25th. Finally, Venus will move into the sign of Scorpio, where it will be conjunct Mars and the Sun on November 27th.
So for better or worse, this Vakri Buddha, which is this retrograde Mercury, is going to be the star or our main character for November 2025. This Mercury may cause a lot of trouble for everyone this month, being in an enemy sign ruled by Mars and crossing directly over Mars and 2 other planets throughout the month. When Mercury crossed directly over Mars in October, on October 20th to be specific, you may have noticed a tendency that people were extra aggressive around this time, and maybe there was a strain on your decision-making process. However, during that time, Mercury was actually in a sign exchange with Venus in the October example, which gave Mercury more strength to overcome this difficult transit. When this does happen again in November, which Mars and Mercury directly crossing, Mercury will not be in nearly as good of a condition. So clearly the themes and challenges related to the sign of Scorpio will be very prominent this month. That's because there's a lot of activity and action going on in that sign. So these themes could include personal transformation, sudden gains or losses, as well as hidden information coming to the surface.
So Mercury retrograde can make you second guess decisions that were made in the past and go back to figure out if you need to modify your course of action. When Mercury crosses directly over the Sun while retrograde, usually some information comes to light that you were not aware of, which you'll be able to use as you move forward, especially after Mercury turns direct in December. When Mercury crosses over Venus in the same degree, you may receive valuable or useful information from your spouse. Keep your ears open to what your romantic partner is saying on this day.
All right, so we'll get into each zodiac sign now. Starting with Aries, ascendant or moon sign. This month is a time for you to lay low and be careful of what you say. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Mars is transiting through your 8th house of Scorpio with Mercury, who is not a favorable planet for Aries, and will be turning retrograde on November 10th. Sudden communication from friends or enemies can take place this month, which will make an impact on how you decide to move forward. Be careful in conversations with your neighbors as they may turn into arguments. In fact, as Mercury gets closer to its exact conjunction with Mars, be very careful of all of your communication. It may have a tendency to be sharp or aggressive. Your saving grace this month lies with the exalted Jupiter transiting through your 4th house and aspecting this aggressive conjunction between Mercury and Mars. This shows a flourishing of comfort, happiness, and spirituality in your home can protect you from the difficult transit that is taking place in your 8th house.
So for Taurus ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to confront challenges directly. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Venus will be entering the sign of Libra in your 6th house, joining the Sun. This shows us right away that this month for you will be about overcoming obstacles. You may need to service your debts or deal with enemies this month, especially in matters pertaining to your home, property, or vehicles. Mercury will be retrograde with his enemy Mars in your 7th house of relationships and business partnerships. This is a time where you need to communicate with your enemies directly, or at least with people in your life who you do not enjoy communicating with. However, Jupiter's exaltation in your 3rd house and his aspect on all this aggression taking place in your 7th house will help you overcome these issues through strategic communication.
For Gemini, ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to focus on your health and daily routine. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Mercury will be placed in the 6th house, also known as the Aries Bhava of repetition, debts, and diseases. Mercury here will be conjunct the 6th Lord Mars, who is also an enemy planet for your Lagna Lord. This transit can cause problems in your daily life or even your health if you don't embrace the opportunity to experience a surge of willpower and use this energy to overcome the challenges you're facing this month. This aggressive transit taking place in your 6th house is aspected by Jupiter, who is currently exalted in your 2nd house of wealth, speech, and diet. Jupiter represents control. If you gain control of what you eat and what you say this month, that alone will act as a powerful remedy for overcoming struggles. Although it might be hard with Halloween candy to handle what you eat.
Jupiter really likes
And
those
Jupiter
sweets.
he likes sweets and
Expansion.
and everyone's bringing home Halloween candy, so
Yeah.
do the best you can.
For Cancer ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to serve as a guide for others. As we start off the month, Jupiter is currently exalted in your 1st house, bringing a surge of positivity and wisdom into your entire life. The difficult transits of Mercury and Mars will be taking place in your 5th house, also known as the Putra Bhava, of children, subordinates, creativity, and mantras. Needless to say, there could be difficulties in these areas of your life this month. Chanting Mercury-related mantras could be one of the best remedies for overcoming any of these challenges. The simplest example of this would be the Nama mantra of Mercury, Om Buddhaya Namaha. If you have children or students, you're being called to serve as their guide or mentor. This is not a month to sit back or hold your tongue, which you may have a tendency to do right now because of Ketu's transit through your 2nd house of speech. You may gain wealth this month, especially through matters related to real estate or vehicles, with the Sun and Venus forming a Dan Yoga in your 4th house.
For Leo ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to find peace in solitude. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord, Sun, is currently transiting through your 3rd house, the Sahajabhava of communication, talents, siblings, and friends. This tells us that your dharma this month is to communicate, especially through writing. This can be through email, text, or social media. This communication can be especially important in relation to your career and responsibilities in the world. There might be fights at home, especially as retrograde Mercury moves directly over Mars in your 4th house. Jupiter's protective aspect on this transit is coming from your 12th house of expenses and isolation. This can show that it may be productive for you to find some quiet time for yourself or make a donation to a worthy cause, which will act as a remedy to help overcome some of the difficulties taking place in your home life.
So for Virgo ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for your network to be your net worth. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Mercury is transiting through your 3rd house of communication, talents, friends, and siblings. You may experience sudden gains this month as a result of networking with friends or connections in your professional circle. However, be careful not to speak too harshly or critically, which is something that you might have an impulse to do sometimes.
Especially as a Virgo.
Yes. As Mercury's conjunction with Mars can get you into arguments with these same people in your professional circles.
Now for Libra ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time when more money means more problems. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Venus is currently transiting through your first house with your 11th Lord Sun. This forms a Dan Yoga, which can indicate a sudden gain of wealth can take place. However, your second house of accumulated wealth, which pertains to your bank account, is where the aggressive Mars-Mercury conjunction will be taking place. This conjunction also forms a Dan Yoga, with Mars being the second lord and Mercury being the ninth lord. However, Mercury is also the 12th lord of expenses, which can mean you're being called to pay attention to your accounts. Mercury going retrograde here may cause you to go over your bank statements and get control of your accounting to prevent issues from taking place with your wealth. Jupiter in your 10th house may be making you feel lazy. However, Jupiter is exalted, so any activity that you do engage in should be fruitful during this time.
So for Scorpio, ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to tolerate confusion about who you are. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Mars is transiting through your first house with Mercury, the 11th Lord of gains, but also the 8th Lord of personal transformation, and an enemy to your Lagna Lord Mars. When Mercury turns retrograde and moves toward Mars, all of this taking place in your first house of self and identity will create a massive amount of confusion in your life. Jupiter's aspect from the 9th house shows that the key to overcoming this confusion is not to figure it all out, but simply to tolerate it as a temporary experience. Looking toward wise gurus or mentor figures can help you with this. The Sun and Venus in your 12th house of isolation can show that for the first half of the month, you might feel like your spouse is extremely busy working. When the Sun moves into your first house, this will start to improve. And you may feel a surge of confidence, which will also help you overcome the confusion caused by Mercury being retrograde here.
For Sagittarius ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to heal your past traumas. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Jupiter is currently transiting your 8th house of fear, accidents, and transformation. However, Jupiter here is exalted and in an extremely good condition. This tells us that you can find relief from a lot of the pressure you've been experiencing in your life by confronting the experiences in your past which you may not have been willing to face. Mars and Mercury are currently transiting through your 12th house of expenses, loss, and isolation. If you're in a long distance relationship, it may suddenly end as a result of an argument. So be careful not to speak too harshly as Mercury gets closer to Mars if you do not want this to happen. The Sun transiting your 11th house with your 11th Lord Venus can show that you're being called to render service to your friends or any large organization that you belong to this month. And that service which you render will lead to positive outcomes.
For Capricorn ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to activate and achieve. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Saturn is currently transiting your 3rd house, creating a burden of responsibility to exert self-efforts, especially in matters related to your writing or communication. However, Jupiter recently entered your 7th house, sending his benefic aspect onto this position. This will alleviate the feeling of burden and allow you to move forward without feeling like it requires so much discipline or strain. Mars and Mercury are currently transiting through your 11th house, the Labha Bhava, of gains, awards, and fulfillment of desires. You may experience an increase in income or the ability to fulfill your desires as a result of direct confrontations with obstacles. The more you solve problems this month, the more you will gain. The Sun and Venus transiting through your 10th house can show that there might be a positive transformation in your career, which allows you to shine in society. Just be careful not to second guess your own confidence as a result of the Sun's debilitation in the sign of Libra. With the Sun in Swati Nakshatra, the key to your success this month is to remember who you are.
For Aquarius, ascendant, or moon sign, this month is a time for you to focus on food and finances. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Saturn is currently transiting your second house, the Dana Bhava of accumulated wealth, speech, and food. You may be having issues getting satisfaction in these areas of your life. However, Jupiter's recent transit into Cancer will be sending his benevolent aspect onto this position, which will allow you to experience improvements in your bank account and better experiences with food. Lucky you. You'll want to make sure you take advantage of this month, especially because Jupiter's aspect will help you manage any issues you may be experiencing with your finances. However, once Jupiter moves back into Gemini on December 6th, he will no longer be offering this temporary reprieve. Mars and Mercury are currently transiting your 10th house of career, authority, and status. Be very careful not to get in a fight with your boss this month, especially around the time when Mercury directly conjuncts Mars. Your boss or any authority figures in your life may be extra difficult to deal with during this transit. So, avoiding arguments with them will be crucial for maintaining the current state of your career, unless you're looking for a major career transformation. So maybe you pick a fight with your boss to jumpstart that change.
If you're looking for a lot of transformation.
Oh yeah, big one.
So finally, for Pisces ascendant or moon sign, this month is a time for you to remember that the power of prophecy is given to fools and babs. Babs. As we start off the month of November, your Lagna Lord Jupiter has recently entered your 5th house, the Putra Bhava of children, creativity, learning, and mantras. You may have extremely uplifting experiences with your children at this time. If you have children, listen closely to what they have to say while Jupiter is transiting your 5th house. They may suddenly say things which are deeply prophetic or wise. If you don't have children, this can also be a time where you may experience benefits from chanting mantras, especially guru mantras like Om Gurave Namaha. Jupiter here will also be sending his benevolent aspect onto your ascendant, which will alleviate the burden of responsibility being created by Saturn transiting your 1st house. He'll also be aspecting your 9th house, where the aggressive conjunction of Mars with Mercury will be taking place. Mars and Mercury here can show that you have a tendency to get into fights with teachers or mentors. There may be conflicts if you are involved in higher learning or long-distance travel. However, this combination is also forming a Raj Yoga, so even though there will be conflicts and aggression, you will also still experience a lot of benefits from these areas of your life.
So there you have it. This was our November forecast for all 12 ascendant signs. Be sure to leave us a like, subscribe to our channel if you have not, and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you think.
Let me check.
Check if we have any.
We have a couple.
We have a couple comments or questions. Let's see.
So, Mohammed RM says, my Navamsha ascendant is Aries. Can I consider transit regarding Aries ascendant or just Lagna? If you were going to consider the transits from your Navamsha, you would need to be looking at where the planets are in the Navamsha at that moment. So you would need to be looking in whatever astrological software you use, whether if you have any, or like, for example, Deva Guru is free. Deva.guru has free astrological software. You would need to see in what Navamsha is the planet placed in, and then what house is that from Aries Navamsha in the Navamsha chart. But that's kind of a really deep thing, and I don't know if that's a technique that a lot of astrologers use. So I think that
It's probably more conducive to use your either moon sign or your ascendant, and if you're really looking for confluence, maybe both. Look at the transits from your moon and then from your ascendant, and that will probably give you the best idea.
Yeah, and that alone, just looking at the moon and ascendant sign and what house these transits are happening in from there, will give you a massive amount of information.
Yeah,
so
especially for a month period. It's a lot.
CDGHGUC says, hey.
Hey!
And then this person also says, if a person has moon in the 12th house, does that mean they feel like they are going through something for a longer time? Can you please give example of how to read a chart for Aquarius, Lagna, Capricorn, moon? So if you have moon in the 12th house, that we could say a lot of things about that.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if it necessarily makes you feel like you're going things through a longer period of time, but the moon is pretty much your mind and your emotions, so it's kind of where your head's at. And so if you think about, there's a lot of things that the 12th house signifies, but and I think in different times in your life, certain things are probably more prominent than others, but the 12th house can be, loss, isolation, sleep, dreams, anything foreign, so that could be other countries or anything that's foreign or maybe a little bit unorthodox.
Yeah. Spirituality as well.
Yeah. So, and there's other things as well. So, if your moon is there, that's probably a lot of times where your mind is, or maybe where a lot of your emotions are. And then depending on what's going on in your life, certain things might be more prominent than others. But I wouldn't say necessarily you're there for a longer time. I think the time kind of just depends on the transits and what dashas you're running. I think specifically.
Yeah. So the effects of moon being in the 12th house would especially be felt during the Mahadasha of the moon in your life, or any Antardasha, any sub-period which is ruled by the moon.
Yeah.
And also, like we say, there are so many things that could be said about that, especially based on what your Lagna is and based on what house the moon rules.
Yeah.
But just off the bat, we could say that the moon in the 12th house would make you extremely imaginative, drawn to
Fantasy sometimes.
fantasy or spirituality, depending on the influences that are on it. And also, you would need privacy. You would need privacy in your life, and if you feel like you can't find privacy, that would be very difficult. So privacy would be very important.
Yeah, and then just one thing I just thought of that might make it feel like a really long long-term feeling is if Saturn is maybe involved, if Saturn
Yeah.
is currently transiting over your moon or your 12th house, that can make things feel very long-winded or delayed. So that could be also something that's going on.
Yeah. And I think this person said that they have moon in Capricorn. So there is a little bit of Saturnian influence
Oh,
because
yeah.
Saturn rules
Rules
the
Capricorn.
sign. So that's going to make your mind a little bit more Saturnian, a little bit more
More serious.
serious and melancholic.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you just finished going through a Sadasati period because for the entire time that Saturn was transiting Sagittarius, then Capricorn, then Aquarius, which I think Saturn just left Aquarius this year and moved into Pisces. You were undergoing Sadasati, which meant that Saturn was having a strong impact on your
Yeah.
on the moon in your chart,
Yeah.
and would be giving all those Saturnian qualities
Yeah,
to your moon.
and that's a long period anyway.
And it would make you feel like problems
are really long.
taking a long time to end.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Sadasati, we do actually have, if you go to our channel, we have a really good video that it talks a lot about Sadasati and things to expect and even tips for you.
Yeah, we do.
We have another.
One more question. Right now, so Mohammed also says, right now the sun is in Libra, also in Sagittarius, Purva Ashada Navamsha.
For him specifically.
You mean sun is in my 9th house of Navamsha where my Mercury and moon are situated? Yes, if you were going to look at transits from your Navamsha chart, which is again not necessarily a technique that we recommend because there's already so much information available from your moon and ascendant sign. But if you were going to do that, that would be the case. Since it's in Sagittarius Navamsha, it's in the 9th house of your Navamsha chart. That's correct.
But yeah, try to see if things make a little bit more sense from your ascendant and then moon sign first.
And also check out our Chandra Gochara Deepika for
Yes.
2026.
Yes.
So you can
It's
see
free.
how the effects of the moon's transits on literally a day-by-day basis. We went through and highlighted good days according
green.
to Brihat Samhita in green and bad days according to the classical text in red, so that you can see for every month of 2026.
Every single day.
Every single day.
Check that out.
All right, I think that's it.
You're welcome. Someone said awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching
Yes.
and hanging out with us.
Yeah, we appreciate the questions and comments.
Were there any other things that we wanted to mention? No, I think that's it.
I think that's it. Hopefully this stream was smooth because in the past we've had some issues, but seems like it was.
I think it went, it seems like it was smooth, and if there are any lags, we'll put the written form on our website for you. So.
And feel free to leave us comments if you think of anything else, and be sure to join us for our other videos, our live videos, and have a great Halloween if you celebrate. And I hope that your November month is fruitful and happy and exciting and all those good things. All right, we'll see you soon. We will keep going. Thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate it. That was a nice comment.
Yes. All right.